Hello, my Teaserking family. Sorry about that. How's everybody today? I hope you're well. Getting ready for Christmas next Thursday. Whew. Silver just shot 66.70. Was it 66.60? And gold's 43.48. What a happy day again. So silver just keeps going, and I don't understand why it's like up $1 and gold goes up 16. Like, why doesn't silver go up 16 or 20 or 30? And gold, a bad day for gold is, goes up $10, $20. So 43.50. I think we're finally getting our move to 4,500. And ding, 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 $67 silver. What a happy time. So some guy, the AI guy, comes out and says, oh, there'll be the CFCT meeting and they're going to ban buying silver. And the meeting was yesterday. And I checked, there was no meeting yesterday. You got to be careful who you trust. I don't see Mark McGuire on today. I don't know why not. So he's packed it in for the year, I guess. He doesn't do too many. He does once every 2 weeks, really. Then he has these stupid guests on. I saw one guy trying to explain Austrian economics. I had to turn it off. Very simply put, Austrian economics comes from Adam Smith, which is behavior of people. The people are the market. They determine what they want to buy, which we talk about all the time. That's what Say's law is. Say's law says supply creates demand, which means we go to work, we make money. We don't necessarily go to work. We get money, we make money, we spend it. We're the market. That's about as simple as Austrian economics is. We explain inflation as money printing, not cost. We look at substitution effect, where if a steak becomes $20, you buy chicken at $3 a pound instead of steaks at 20. Maybe you get ribs, maybe you get hamburger, maybe you get salmon, you get other things. You want to eat healthy. You want to obey the law and do things, do the right thing and be helpful when you can and avoid idiots on the other hand. And that's what an Austrian society is, really, gold standard, so they don't print the money to death. It's very, very simple. That's what it is. Let the people, the biggest difference between Keynesian and Austrian, the Keynesians will, they want the government to control the market instead of the people to control the market, right? We'll tell you what's good for you. That's why the governments always print the money and don't have gold, is that they don't believe in it. They believe the government will print the money and tell you what to do with it. A lot of crime, a lot of corruption. That's Keynesian, not an Austrian. Free markets, no tariffs, free trade, very limited government, good sound money, gold, and a sound law structure. So there's 5 things that they do, and it's balance your budget. It's sound money, sound laws, free trade. Those are the biggest key. You have a small military to protect yourself, but not to go to everywhere else in the country, and not to steal everybody's oil and gold by going to Venezuela, Ukraine, Iran, wherever else they can go. They wanted to steal it in Russia. That's why they're there. They're there to steal Russia's oil and gold, natural gas, but Russia says no way. we're bigger and better than you. And we're trying to run them down. Well, if we keep the war running for 10 years, Russia will, it's expensive, will pay. But it's backfiring. The U.S. is the one with the $38 trillion debt, not Russia. And it's bad. But that's what Austrian economics is. It's not macroeconomics. It's really more microeconomics, where the people do, it's sort of like football. I don't do a macro look. I do a team by team look. And that's what Austrian economics is. It's more, oh, you want to buy a blue shirt? Oh, you want to buy this style or that style? You want to eat this food or that food, and these shoes or that shoes? Whatever it is, it's up to the individual. And then you got to set the price that the individual will buy it. That's what Austrian economics is. In a very nutshell, it's by far the best, and it believes in the gold standard, of course, because we know if you print money to death, the money's worthless. When you screw it up, Say's law, if the money's worthless. I had dinner with one of our students yesterday. Pleasant dinner. It was very nice. He was kind to buy me dinner, which was nice. We went to a steakhouse. So very, very nice. Anybody else who wants to do that and pick my ear for a couple hours, please feel free. Now, we had a good talk. Basically just don't sell your gold. It's not a profit taking. It's not stocks. So you had to differentiate between gold being money, and I'm not looking to sell this, versus this is worthless, but everything in this is worthless. And people have a hard time with that. Ooh, 67.06 in silver. I'm thinking $100 by New Year's, so we will see. Because they got the momentum, nobody's stupid enough to short it. And we got 43, 45 gold. All right. We got to get that to 4,500 by now. All right. We'll come back with economics. Most of my picks are posted. I have one lock so far. I'm still looking. Seattle wins 38-37 yesterday on a real bad call. They were going for two late in the game. Seattle. The Rams were up 16. Seattle scores on a punt return, and then they drive the field, and they get the first 2-point conversion. They're down 16. Now they're down 8. The second one was an incomplete pass, but they called it a backward lateral, which was not. It was a forward lateral, or a lateral to the, across. Never should have been a 2-point conversion. Should never have went. It was an incomplete pass, basically. Even if you throw it back, it's still an incomplete pass, a backward lateral. So they called it like a backward lateral fumble, recovered kind of by Seattle by mistake in the end zone. The guy just happened to pick it up. Hey, Prophet. Big comeback by Seattle. I think it was a backward pass. I thought it was sideways and a little bit more forward from some angles. So I don't buy that, but I then they got it. I think that was part of the fix to go to overtime because it's on Thursday night. Anyway, my big play, I liked the Rams the whole time, -1. I was going to take them +5. Yesterday we got a break where Seattle goes -2, which was perfect because I love the Rams as the dog in the game, as I thought they should have been, just because the game was at Seattle. So it was -2. I got +8. I was never worried. I had a big lead, even all the bullshit 2-point conversion, the overtime, and they go for 2 in the overtime. I thought that was extremely stupid. You can't do that, right? They got lucky on the call. Probably wasn't even. It was a guy that never plays, and but again, you should not be when it's 3 minutes left and you're playing for the division and number one seed, you don't go for two. Mm-mm. No, sideways is considered sideways, not backwards. Well, I thought the punt return was kind of weak. And then I don't know if it was scripted. I think the call, see, sideways is sideways, backwards is backwards. They're not the same. I thought it was sideways. It was clearly an incomplete pass. That was the intent of the play, was he was throwing the ball to the running back around end. That was the intent of the play. It was not supposed to be a backward lateral. I think he threw it. If you watch him, it is sideways, which means it's incomplete. But they're going to give it to him because they want to go to overtime for TV. I was reading things on Pukanuka said the refs make bad calls to get on TV. And then they do the instant replay for 20 minutes. What did they call it on the field? Did they call it a forward, an incompletion, or a backward lateral? It was definitely not backward. Well, with that thing, but at the end, so the Rams take the lead. This whole overtime rule is so stupid. I can't take it. What do you mean to be fair? You had 4 fucking quarters. You had 60 minutes for them to score. Then it's tied with the bullshit call. Then we go to overtime. Rams score. Game's over. Rams scored a touchdown. It's sudden death. First team that scores wins. Period. It's not, well, let's be nice and be socialist and say, well, you got to give them a turn, Johnny. So the Rams scored. Well, Seattle's got to get a turn. Why? Seattle shouldn't. If they can't stop the Rams from scoring, the game's over. This is sudden death overtime. This is not. Let's be fair and everybody get it. This is why you're starting to hate football. This is not supposed to be socialism. It's not supposed to be, well, let's give it to them and let's tie so we can go to overtime. No, the game is over. The Rams won. Then the Rams won twice, right? And then you've got so Seattle then scores the touchdown in overtime. You're worried about players' safety, but they're playing 5 quarters, right? And then why would you go for 2? You can't go for 2 there. You have to tie the game up and see what the Rams do. Maybe you get a pick 6. Maybe you stop them and you get the ball back and you kick the field goal. But if you're going to have this socialist overtime where everybody has to have it, everybody has to get a drink, Johnny, then I would just kick the extra point because I know I'm going to make that. The point for 2 was a miracle. Throwing to a guy who's never caught a ball in his life, probably didn't even know where the end zone was, and the Rams didn't even guard him because they know he never catches a pass. So bad, terrible call. It's like the Lions going for it on 4th downs, cost them the Super Bowl. They'll never be back. And here you've got this bullshit. Now, did I really care? No, because I had the Rams in 8, and I got them with 2 teasers on Sunday. So that's where it's at. So now I got 2 live teasers, which I'm happy with. Very good teasers. I have 1 lock on Sunday. Did I play the game? I played the game tonight in college. People asking, am I doing bowl? Yeah, I am. I just don't like playing Missouri State. And I did win Jacksonville State, and I lost the Delaware over. And then I played the game tonight, and tonight we've got Alabama and Oklahoma. So I'm going to go into I want to see the weather there. It was 50 degrees here yesterday. It's freezing again. So I can't really go to the NFL weather because they don't have anything in Oklahoma. I guess Kansas City, but they're not playing Kansas City. Let's see if any of the weather has changed. Washington still 34. The Bears 29. That one I would expect. No, we're past the Bears. Yeah, Feels like 19, feels like 18. Yeah, that's what it was yesterday. Um, Buffalo, Cleveland, 29 with a chance of rain. Kickoff 17 with wind, 16 with some wind, 16 with some wind, 16. So there's like 17-mile-an-hour wind, 16 temperature, chance of rain, but not this cold that I'm getting today. Tennessee 49 and rain. The Giants 39 and snow. Carolina 58. Miami 80. Denver 55. Let's see. Dome. Baltimore 34 with a chance of snow. See, Baltimore is a little more south than where I am. 22, 13-mile-an-hour winds, 21, 11. See, and I don't even know does 11-mile-an-hour wind affect these guys at all? And then Indiana in the dome. So basically, I don't see it, but let's go into the weather, which I have to go to let's see, I'm going to go into Oklahoma weather. See, this is one day ago. I want today's. Kickoff temps. Oh, wait, this is. See, again, this is 5 hours ago. Football weather. Alabama's in Norman to take on Oklahoma. No. Yeah, we understand that. What's the fucking weather? Sky will be clear. Temperatures falling through the 50s. It will be windy at times, and the south wind averaging 12 to 22, possibly gusting to 30 early in the game. Well, there is this new shoe store that is opening up today. We should go to that. Roll Tide, fucking Bama. So it's through the 50s. So it's not going to be. Yeah, see, I want to. So it could be windy. Weather condition 53. Okay, so not a problem, barely an inconvenience. So let's do college first today. Prophet, I like the college format for overtime. I hate the college format. I think you need a regular kickoff and the game shouldn't change. It's sort of like soccer. Oh, Western Michigan's up 27-0. I didn't even know the game started. It's not even noon yet. All right, let's see. So we've got Old D beat South Florida 24-10. We've got Delaware 20-13, which is shocking that game was so low scoring. And Arkansas State 34-28 over Missouri State. I did like the over in that game, but I didn't play it. Today, Western is already up 27-0. 27-0 where we just starting the second quarter. See, this is the problem. How do you bet Missouri State, Kennesaw State, and that? So that's why I'm not picking that. Now, I have played tonight's game, We've got North Carolina State 3.5, 57.5. I believe it's in Tampa. Bobby should be there. 3.5, 57.5 tonight. And then we've got Alabama, Oklahoma. Now Oklahoma's a 1.5 and 40.5. Now let's check this on Scores and Odds. I'm confused. Who is the favorite in this game? It keeps going and going and going. All right. Okay, I got Oklahoma by 1.5. I got Alabama by 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. Everywhere's Alabama. So I'm going to keep Alabama minus 1.5. And our total is 40. There's a 41 and a 40.5. All right. We got some wind, but we don't have real cold weather. So I am playing this game. I got an A team in Alabama with a 17 defense, and I got a B team in Oklahoma with a 13 defense. I got a shit quarterback in Mateer for Oklahoma, and I don't buy Ty Simpson is all that. So I got two kind of weak quarterbacks. They just played 24-20. Oklahoma won about 3-4 weeks ago. Where Oklahoma did nothing. But they got a pick 6. Let's look at last 5 anyway. So I got Simpson 3,200 yards, Mateer 2,500. A lot of picks. Now Jam Miller, is he playing? I don't know, but again, it's really Alabama 1.5 and 41. Alabama with the 31 defense. Forget that. They just played a high school team. And Oklahoma 26. So we've got to cut that shit out. So let's look at Alabama last 5. They beat LSU 20-9. They lost to Oklahoma 23-21 on a pick 6. So Oklahoma did not score 23 points. So we got a 44 there. Eastern Illinois, throw out. Auburn, they won 27-20 barely. And then Georgia killed them. My boys are back, my Georgia. So I can't go last 5 because I got to throw out Eastern Illinois. How do you make the playoffs and you beat Eastern Illinois? So let's go last 4. Alabama's offense, 20, 21, 27, and 7. That's a 41, a 48, 58, 68, 75 divided by 4. You're not even getting 20 a game. You're getting about 18 a game. You're giving up a 9, a 23, a 20, and a 28. You got to throw out the 0 because it's Eastern Illinois. So you're giving up 32, 42, 52, 60. You're giving up 80. So you're giving up 20 a game. So Alabama's a 20 defense and a 20 offense. So they're really an under team, right? They're not scoring much. 27 on Auburn. 7. Now, they played good defensive teams, LSU, Oklahoma, but they're playing a good defensive team tonight. Now, we do have 5 real games with Oklahoma. They lost to Ole Miss 34-26. They beat Tennessee 33-27. They beat Alabama 23-21. They beat Missouri 17-6 and LSU 17-13. So let's look at the points. We've got 23 and 17 is 40. 33 and 17 is 50. That's 90 and 25. 110, 115 divided by 5, like 21. Defensively, they gave up 34 to Ole Miss, a good offensive team, 27 to Tennessee, a good offensive team, 21 to Alabama, 6 and 13. So they gave up 40 and 40s 80. They gave up 100. So they're 20 defense also. So they're not really a 13 defense. So we got 220 defenses playing, but we have 2 low scoring games. So both of these teams are really under teams, right? The biggest, they got 33 on Old Tennessee, Oklahoma. Big playoff game. They played a 23-21 to Alabama on a pick 6. So it's really like a 21-16 game, 37. So let's go free play. We're going to go under in this game. They're both under teams. They have trouble scoring against the better teams, and you got 2 strong defenses here. Alabama couldn't move on Georgia. I don't see them moving much. Now, is Jam Miller playing? Who cares? That actually helps the under because then there'll be more running. Profit, it's 50 here right now. We always get your weather a day later, but you're going to get cold weather tomorrow. Because I went out for my walk and I think, you know what? I don't need my hat. I drove home last night. It was raining and I opened the door and I needed gloves and a hat. So not real good. Anyway, just when I thought we were starting to get warm weather, but that's why I'm worried about football. Specifically the Buffalo-Cleveland game might get this real cold, maybe the Baltimore-New England. So I posted a lot of games, but I have more to post. Like I said, one lock. These playoff games are pretty hard, but we'll see. So free play, go under. Okay, let's give a score here. I'm going to go Alabama 17, Oklahoma 20. So I'm gonna say Oklahoma beats Alabama because they sucked against Georgia. And I really don't see a lot against Oklahoma. Mature won't do anything. So I think if you can get to the 20s, you'll win. So if I do a comparison, Alabama does not have the offense of Tennessee or Ole Miss. So let's go to Missouri and LSU. And Oklahoma could only put up 17. And those teams have a decent defense, but not that strong. And that's what they should have put up on Alabama with the pick 6. So it would have been 16. So they're going to get maybe 17 points. But they give up nothing. 27 to Tennessee. 21 to Alabama, and then 6 to Missouri, and 13 to LSU. Now, LSU's not scoring. 34 to Ole Miss. That, that's volumes because Ole Miss, I don't know. Well, that's, again, with whatchamacallit, Lane Kiffin. So Alabama in a must-win game. Last week loses to Georgia badly, 28-7. Oklahoma will not score 28. I don't know if Alabama get more. Let's see if it announces Jam Miller. Doesn't really say. So I don't know if he's playing. It doesn't say, which is unusual. Even if he plays, how good is he going to play? Right? So last 5, both these teams are under. Both these teams giving up 20 on defense. Go under, beat Navy. Again, a low scoring game, and this will be your free play. So I think I've already played the game under last night as I was trying to get the bowl game picked. Let's see. Do I have it played? Alabama. Yeah. I got Alabama under, and I got to play the other one, but that's not till tomorrow. So that's today's games. Memphis, NC State, 3.5, 57.5. Memphis is a 18 with the 22 defense. NC State's an over team with the 29. So that's the regular game, and Alabama, Oklahoma, we're going under. Now that leads us to tomorrow. We have 3 playoff games, and that's all we got. So let's go through them. A&M 3.5, 48.5. Down from 50 to 49. We'll call it 49. And 3.5 for A&M. We got Miami, an A team with the 13 defense. That's for the year. And I looked at their last 5, and they had just killed Pitt. And there was one other game. And they just shut these teams out. A&M hasn't played anybody. They beat Notre Dame by 1. They beat Arkansas in a 80-point game. They came back against South Carolina 31-30. And then they had the chance against Texas, and I thought they played terrible. The quarterback threw 2 picks at the end of the game, which could have at least covered our over for us. So what do we do with these teams? Well, let's look at the last 5. Are they both really A teams? And this is the noon game. Carson Beck threw for 3,000 yards, and roughly Reed did too for A&M. Neither of them. I noticed there's no big running backs, right? 600 yards. You play 13 freaking games. More receiving yards. Both teams score in the 30s. Miami with the 13 defense, A&M with the 22, which I question. So last 5. Let's go to Miami. They lose 26-20 to SMU. SMU's an okay team. Nothing great. They kill Syracuse, who sucks. But here's the 2 games, and they kill Virginia Tech, who sucks, right? So both those teams are like Z teams. And then here's where they look really good. NC State is a explosive over team, 41-7. Pitt, a very explosive over team, 38-7. And so what do we see here? And even the A&M, the SMU game was overtime, so it was 20-20. So you give them, they scored, if we look at the 5, so they scored 38, 41, 34, 38, and a 20. So they're basically a 30-point game. We'll get a good 58 and 41 is 99. Let's call it 100, 172. Divided by 5, we're like upper 30s there. All right, so they're an A team. Defensively, let's call SMU a 20 because that was overtime, right? So 20, 30, 47, 54, 61. Divided by 5 is a 12. So they're right on a 13 defense and shutting down NC State and Pitt's huge. And that what so as I explained yesterday, going advanced, teaching you the advanced lesson is look at common teams that they played, and we were looking at uh, Jacksonville against Houston and Seattle and the Rams. They got killed, and here comes Denver. So in this case, we have against NC State and Pitt, two good offensive teams. They got 7 points. Miami, yeah, they're pissed. They didn't win the division, but they somehow made the playoffs over both Virginia and why Duke was in there is a joke. So Duke wins, and their reward is nothing. Duke should be in this game because they won the ACC. They were the champs, so why aren't they in here? Well, they had 5 losses. Well, then you got a problem making them your champ. You should have. Why wasn't Miami in that game? Now we go to A&M. 49-25 on LSU, 38-17 on Missouri, 31-30 on South Carolina. They played Sam, who I don't know. It's not Sam Houston. It's South A&M. 48-0 when you got to throw out. And then they lose the important game. They choke 17-27. So scoring 49 on LSU is very good because they came up with a good defense, but I don't know. Brian Kelly was probably still the coach, and their defense sucked. Missouri 38-7, that's impressive. Missouri, good defense. But then they struggle with South Carolina. They're down 30-3 and win 31-30. And then losing to Texas the way they lost was a joke. And you're getting a team with a strong defense. So who do we compare it to? Well, we would think we'd compare it to LSU, but I think that's with Kelly. Missouri, not really a team like Miami. Texas, defensively is like Miami. They gave up 17 there. So let's look at their figures. It's going to be quite high. A 49, a 38, 87, 108, and 17, 125 divided by 4. So it's about 30 points a game. So they're going to score. So both teams are going to score in the game. And then defensively, they gave up 25. 17 is 42, 72, 82, 90, 90. They gave up 100. So they give up 25. So liar, liar, they're not a 22. They're a 25. However, Miami is a 13. In the only game that A&M played against a good team, they lost to Texas, who's not even a playoff team. So if we look at A&M, okay, they beat Notre Dame 41-40. Now here's where they struggle against Auburn 16-10. But Auburn doesn't have the offense of Miami. They beat Old Mississippi State 31-9, but Old Mississippi State didn't have Shapen yet. They beat Florida, who sucks, 34-17. And then they go to Arkansas, and it's 45-42. And then they beat at LSU 49-25, where the quarterback has a big day running. And then Missouri 38-17 in a good win. But then the South Carolina, and then they lose to Texas. What good team did they play? None. UTSA, Utah State, Notre Dame. Auburn's probably their best team. Florida sucked. Arkansas they barely beat. LSU was nothing this year. Missouri, probably their best team they beat was Missouri. And then they struggled with a weak South Carolina and lost to Texas. So they didn't really play this team. Now, if we believe Miami with this 13 defense, now they beat Notre Dame. And I think Miami should be in. I think Miami should be in ahead of Notre Dame, but I think Notre Dame should be in ahead of James Madison. That game makes no sense to me that they're playing James Madison. Why is James Madison in this playoff? So what do we do here? Again, we know Miami lost in overtime to SMU and a Thursday nighter, which I warn you is Thursday night's bad because the teams are out of routine. How important is this playoff game that is at Texas A&M, not at the Rose Bowl? It's pretty important, I think. Miami killed Pitt at Pitt, and they went to overtime with SMU there. I think they lost at Louisville, and they beat Notre Dame at home. So this is a very interesting game. I think, is this going to be high scoring? I think it could be, although here's the problem. So when you break it down, Miami with this great offense and apparently a great defense, and A&M with a great offense and not a great defense, and struggling they lose to Texas, give up 27 to Arch Manning. Now Carson Beck, he played for Georgia, so he's good. It's all about betting Miami's defense here. Do we trust the defense? Well, let's dig a little deeper. But we see against Pitt and we see against NC State they were pretty good. So they beat Notre Dame 27-24. South Florida, who had a good team, they gave up 12. They killed Florida, and then they beat Florida State. They lose to Louisville after the Florida State game on a Friday. Okay, that makes sense. They were emotional for that. Then they go to Stanford and kill, and they lose the SMU game at SMU again, and then beat a shit Syracuse. So the best team they probably beat was South Florida. Florida sucked. Florida State sucked. NC State and Pitt. Probably at Pitt was their best win. A lot of low-scoring game. The most they gave up was let's see, 24 to Notre Dame and 24 to Louisville and 20 to SMU, really, because it was overtime. And that's it, 17. So they don't give up a lot of points, so you can't really bet them over. So there's only one play here. And that's what we're going to do. So I don't think it's an over. It could be an under, but I don't. Both teams can score. I just don't think A&M can score enough here. And I think Miami could be a live dog here. No, I'm not saying I'm betting it. I can just analyzing the game. I think Miami's defense looks good, but again, they hadn't really. The best team they played was Pitt or Notre Dame. That was the best team. That was week one. So a lot of these games, NC State with a pretty good offense, which we'll see later today, and that's it. So it's hard to figure. Then how much does A&M playing at home matter in a playoff game? Is this a playoff game any different than the Notre Dame Miami game they played or the A&M Texas game that they played? Is it any different? I don't think so. So the fact it's a playoff game, I don't think it'll matter. Is that Texas A&M? All right. Ole Miss, 17.5, 57.5 to Tulane. Overall, Tulane's an E team, an E team with a 22 defense. Mississippi's an A team with a 20 defense. However, both coaches are gone. Tulane's coach is now Florida's coach, and Ole Miss's coach is now LSU's coach. What the fuck's going on here? Are you telling me the coaches don't finish the season? What kind of bullshit is this? I don't get it. I don't get people. You have a contract. And I talked to you about that guy who has a contract with me who defaults on it. He voids it. Supposed to pay me for the full year on a monthly basis, and after 2 months, he doesn't pay me. He's got the nerve to come on thinking everything's okay, which it isn't. It's bullshit. You got to honor your contracts. Don't make the contract then. If you can't fulfill the contract, then you shouldn't make it. If you're delusional thinking that every pick I make is going to win, then I can't help you because it's just not going to happen. There's no handicapper, there's nobody, no AI who can pick every game right. I teach you to use your bankroll and bet your bankroll properly. We're going to have some losers and we're going to have some winners. I had the Rams last night, winner. I played the over in the Delaware Lou Lafayette game, which lost. Okay, I'm not going to win them all, but I bet a lot more and in 2 teasers on the Rams getting 8 than I did on Delaware. That's what you're paying for. Profit. Should Kennesaw State really be in a bowl game? They're already down 34-0. It's only the second quarter. Well, to answer your question, should there even be bowls? Nobody cares. I don't think there should be bowls. Initially, it was a vacation. When you go back into the 70s, Michigan, Ohio State played the 10-10 tie. Michigan didn't go to a bowl game. They had an undefeated season. They didn't even go to a bowl game because then it was the champions who went. Then we went to, we'll open it up to more teams. But it was always intended as a vacation, especially here in Michigan. You'd go to the Citrus Bowl or the Orange Bowl or something in Florida. So it was a vacation to go to Florida or California or Texas was the idea of that. And then it was the big bowls were for champions, Oklahoma or Nebraska win the Big 8 and they'd get to play Miami or Florida State in the Orange Bowl. And that was their reward. And now, as you're saying, you got Kennesaw State. How about Missouri State? Should they go to a bowl? Should any of the Conference USA teams go to a bowl? Maybe just the champ. That's about it. James Madison, should they be in the playoffs? Are you kidding me? Absolutely not. You can't leave Notre Dame out and put James Madison in. If they played, Notre Dame would win by 30 points. I mean, so what are you doing? Putting James Madison in the Sun Belt? You think Sun Belt can be with the SEC and the Big 10, really, and the Big 12? Because they ain't none of them can compete with Texas Tech. So you have that. James Madison, so we'll get to that in a minute. But no, Kennesaw State's playing a MAC team. So, yeah, it's just you're playing a really good MAC team. And the MAC team, I think it's in Detroit, is pounding them. But you're going to see that a lot. You're going to see Oregon probably pound James Madison. You're going to see that game's going to be a 50-point win. I mean, that's because Oregon at home, and again, it's at home, so it's even worse, right? I don't think Notre Dame could beat Oregon at Oregon, but you're making this game a home game for Oregon. All right. So what do we do with Mississippi and Tulane? 17.5, 57.5. I got an A team in Mississippi with a 20 defense. Well, let's see last 5. And again, both coaches are gone. A lot of the offensive coordinators on both teams are gone. Does Tulane have a chance? Well, let's see. Retzliff was the BYU quarterback who cheated and had sex out of marriage, and they basically dumped him. Chambliss, 3,000 yards for Old Miss. Ratliff is the biggest running back on Tulane at 600 yards. That's a problem. So I like Old Miss already, but let's go through. Let's look at the defense. Tulane allows 22, Old Miss 20. Now, the difference is Old Miss is doing it in the SEC, where Tulane's doing it in the AAC. Tulane beats Memphis 38-32, Florida Atlantic 35-24, Temple 37-13, Charlotte, the Z team, 27-0, and North Texas, probably the most impressive win, 34-21. Old Miss, on the other hand, beats Oklahoma 34-26. Let's freeze that. Oklahoma has a very strong defense, right? We've concluded it was a 20 defense. And they put up 34 points on a 20 defense. Old Miss or Tulane's got a 22 defense. So you're looking for Old Miss to put up somewhere in the 40 points if they did 34 on Oklahoma, which nobody did. 30 on South Carolina, 30-14. CIT, what's that, the Citadel? Florida, they put up 34, and then Old Mississippi State, 38. What is with these teams? So we're going to have to go the last five, but from this standpoint. All right. Old Miss beats Kentucky 30-23, Arkansas 41-35. They beat Tulane 45-10 already at home. This is a home game. Why would this be any different? There you go. They beat LSU 24-9, Washington State. Now, this was a surprise 24-21, but then you had Georgia the next week. Maybe they're looking ahead. They're not looking ahead here. They put up 35 on our Georgia team, 43-35. Georgia wins, 34-26 on Oklahoma, and that's it. So against Georgia and Oklahoma, Ole Miss is putting up 35 points in both those games. They will put up, well, let's see, against Tulane, 45-10, and I would think it's a similar score now. Let's look at last five. So we'll go to Georgia and we'll skip CIT, which is counselors in training. I mean, what are we watching, meatballs? So let's look at their offense. They scored 38 on Mississippi State, 34. That's 72. 30 on South Carolina, 102, 34, 136, and 35. So basically, they scored 35, 34, 49, 34, 38. Let's just call it a 37 and keep it simple. Defensively, just a second. All right, sorry about that. Defensively, gave up 20 to Old Mississippi State, which is good. Actually, 19, 43 to with Florida, 57, 70, 83, and then it gets skewed by Georgia, 126 divided by 5. So they give up about 25. They give up about 25 a game, not 20. But they're scoring 38, so they're kind of more of an over team. So they're kind of an over team. They've already killed Tulane. So let's look at Tulane. So we can go last five on Tulane. They scored 38, 73, 93, 110, and 60. They score 170 their last five. So basically, they're scoring like 33 a game. And defensively, they gave up 32 to Memphis, 24 Florida, so 56, and then 13, 69, 79, and 90. Charlotte, they shut out. 90 divided by 4 is 22, 23. So they're right at the 22. I'm going to make them more of an A team, 33-22. But again, that's Temple, Florida Atlantic. The two teams that were good, North Texas 21 and Memphis. Just a second. Just a second. So let's look at the Memphis game. They won 38-32. Sorry, I'm just talking to Daria. They gave up 24 to Florida Atlantic. Charlotte's a Z team. That doesn't count. And North Texas holding them to 21 was good. It's just apples and oranges. Old Miss is playing Georgia and Oklahoma. Florida, Old Mississippi State, and you've got Tulane they beat Memphis. Let's see, Tulane, did they lose another game besides the Old Miss game? They beat Tulane. They beat Duke 34-27, which is not anywhere in the class of Old Miss. Old Miss killed them. They beat Tulsa. They beat East Carolina, who's a pretty good team, 26-19. My Army team, my team's Navy. UTSA beats them 48-26. There you go. And that was a Thursday night, right? That's the problem with these Thursday nights. Then they beat Memphis, and then the last five I just mentioned. So North Texas was a 34-21 win. And North Texas is an A team, as was Memphis. So those are two good wins, but UTSA killed them. And, of course, they got killed by Old Miss. Old Miss at home. I think they're just going to overwhelm them. There's just too much talent there. It's very, very difficult. If the game wasn't at Old Miss, I could maybe Tulane could play. If the game was at Tulane, maybe. But not at Old Miss. They're not going to look ahead. They're not, we get Georgia next week or Texas or whoever they play. So, again, I think, do we go over in the game? Well, knowing both teams with like 20 mid 20 defenses. Tulane's been scoring a lot. It was a 60-point game, the first one, and here we have Old Miss 17 and a half, or basically an over team, high scoring. Could play the over here because Old Miss, I mean, the game plays out two ways. Old Miss just beats the shit out of them and keeps scoring because it's a playoff game and they give up in the fourth quarter. Or Tulane actually plays them pretty close, and if they do, Old Miss is still going to, that means they're going to have to score 30 points, which gets you an over. So I think there's play Old Miss. You can play the over. Can we trust Tulane? No, because it's out of conference. And I don't think they have a chance. Tulane's quarterback is Retzliff. Now, this guy, again, was the BYU starter. Do I trust him here? Not really. I wouldn't trust him against BYU. So the question is, what do you do with Tulane here? So I think it's a combination play. I think you can go over, and I don't think after what we saw last year in the playoffs that you could go Tulane and 23 and think that they're going to hang in there. Are they that strong? And I don't see it. And then our last game, we've got James Madison, Sunbelt Power, a good team in the Sunbelt. But what do I warn you about every year? Be careful taking these teams out of class, like a racehorse, right? They're in the low class, and then they move up in class, and then they get killed. And that is my point here. James Madison, a wonderful Sunbelt team. And if this was a Sunbelt game, we'd be on James Madison. There's no way in hell you can add Oregon. That Oregon's not going to kill them. To quote Herman Munster, they're going to kill them, they're going to kill them, they're going to kill them. They have the defense. They have the offense. James Madison is way outmatched. Bennett the third is their quarterback, who's okay. Wayne Knight, Newman, is the running back, 1,200 yards, pretty good running back. But you're wasting it here. Stay in the Sun Belt. 20 and a half. And 46 and a half. This number keeps going down. Oregon with a great defense, great offense, A team. James Madison, here's their last five. They beat Marshall 35-23, App State 58-10, Washington State 24-20, Coastal 59-10, and Troy 31-14. It's not even worth doing last five. It is a low number last five, 20, 40, and 30. It's an 8. It's a 20, 40, and 35. It's a 75. So they're giving up 15 points a game. But does that matter? I mean, you're talking App State, Marshall, Coastal Carolina, and Troy. I mean, let's compare to Iowa. Well, Iowa's not good, but USC and Washington. They beat USC 42-27 by 15. And then they beat Washington 26-14, which was basically a playoff game. Minnesota put up 42, 18 on Iowa, at Iowa, which was a very good win. And Wisconsin 21-7. So this would be more like the USC-Washington games where they'll put up big numbers. The win by 14 is an easy one. There's no way you can take James Madison in 26. It's out of their realm here. So I think that I play this one. Well, I'm definitely going to play this game, and I'm definitely playing the Old Miss. Maybe we go that way. The Tulane Ole Miss game is the only one I'm like thinking about, but the others are not thoughts at all. Um, so I will add this to my thing. So your free play will be the Oklahoma, Alabama under, two good defenses, not great quarterbacks. So I guess when you get down to it, you tend to look. All right, so those are your playoff games. Oregon will win the game. Old Miss will win the game. Alabama, Oklahoma. I'm calling for Oklahoma 2017. It'll be low scoring. That's the promise. And then Miami A&M. I think it'll be a very good game. That's a very close game. I think you could get an over as both teams can score, but we're a little bit after watching A&M Texas that should have went over that didn't. We're a little bit curious. And then the only really good team A&M played, they lost to. So we'll see there. Greg and John, how are you? Greg and John, wild game last night. TK, did you see that pass? Do you agree with that call? I stated earlier I don't agree with the call. I don't think it was a backward pass. I think it was a sideways pass. And the guy, like where he threw it, at what point is the quarterback's fading back? At what point do you call that there? But I think that the intent of the play was to pass it to the running back, not as a lateral, maybe a cross, but certainly not a backward pass. It was the intention was not a backward pass. It looked like it was right on the line. It should have been an incompletion. Of course, they wanted it to be a 2-point conversion, so we'd have overtime. And this is where the whole league is fucked up. Now, I didn't care. I had the Rams in 8. I didn't. Once it went to overtime, I knew I won. That's the beauty of that. I'm getting 8. The most they're going to do is 7. And the only way they're going for 2 is, as the scenario happened, the Rams had scored. I hate the playoff. It should be sudden death. You played 48 minutes or 60 minutes, whatever they play. You played a whole game. Next score wins. That's it. Stop with, well, we got to make it fair for Jimmy, and everybody has to have their turn. This is the problem with the fucking country, and this is the problem with socialists. So no, I don't agree with the overtime. The Rams should have won the game, but they should have won it by 2 anyway. That to me, you can't give the 2-point conversion there. That's ridiculous. You should say play over or something, but to give them the 2-point conversion to tie the game up, you got to be insane. That's bullshit. That's fixed. A terrible call. All right. So, um, let's see. So, all right. So those are your three playoff games. So, Oklahoma, I gave you a 2017 over Alabama. Maybe Alabama wins 2017. The point will be it'll be a low scoring game. A&M Miami should be a very competitive game. Either team can win. Probably a high scoring game, but we'll see. Again, with Miami's defense, it's very difficult to play the game over. We'll see. Tulane, Old Miss. I just don't see how Tulane can win at Old Miss, even though both quarter coaches are gone. It's really a strange game. And then James Madison, Oregon. It's just they're outclassed. James Madison. They have no chance here. So those are the four plays, and that's your free play. Alabama, Oklahoma under in the pros. Now, I warned you about the Bears, Green Bay. I gave you the Bears plus 1.5 as your free play, and I've seen it's now gone. The Bears favored by 1.5. It's still your free play. I warned you to bet it early because I knew exactly what's going to happen, and I don't mind even at 1.5. You get the Bears in 4.5 without Micah Parsons and Jordan Love. Look for the Bears to win. They have to win. Well, they're leading the division. I don't think they're gonna without Micah Parsons. Green Bay's not as good. And again, Jordan Love is not that good. Sorry, I hate to break it to you. And I much prefer Ben Johnson. Seems to uh, know how to do blocking schemes better than Dan Campbell at the Lions. All of a sudden, the guard and centers are the center and both guards suck. The tackles are injured for the Lions, and that's it. So let's go to the pros. So we'll get more into the college bowls. It's very difficult. Now, I didn't bet a lot of Conference USA in the first place, so I don't want to start betting them. I don't want to just put picks out there to put picks. I want us to win. So unless I have a good idea, now these bowls, we don't have to worry about players sitting out, which you do on some of these games. A point of note is the Nebraska Utah game. Not only is Rayola transferring, and he's injured anyway, this is the coach's last game. So I'm going to make this a free pick for the following week. Take Utah. They're 14-49 in Nebraska. They're going to kill Nebraska because they're going to play for the coach, and they are screwed. They should be in the playoff. So take Utah -8 when we get down to it because it'll probably be 20. You know how it is when the coach leaves. If it's a love coach, Bear Bryant, Woody Hayes, they didn't know it was his last game when he choked the player on the sideline. But why would he choke the Woody? But normally in the coach's last game, the team plays for him. Lombardi's last game was Super Bowl II, and they killed him. It's when you're playing for the old man, as they call them. All I can say is if he says it's my last game and winning Tim has for Utah, they're gonna make sure they win it. And they're gonna pound it. And they're not gonna rouse. And it's big Nebraska with a good defense, but they don't get a chance. All right. Yeah, it sucks that it's hard to believe Seattle won. Darnell threw what 3 picks. Let's go through this game and then we'll get to the lines. So how many picks did Darnell throw? 38, 37. I think it's 3. He came up big again in the big game. Stafford 29 of 49, 457, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Williams ran 23 for 70, Corum 14, Pukanuka 12 catches for 225 yards. You got to love Pukanuka. And that's it. X Smith and Mumfield, who are these guys? So even with Devontae Adams now playing, Not difficult, barely an inconvenience. The Seahawks, Darnold, 22 of 34, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Sam Darnold played his game. Kenneth Walker had a big game. Michigan State, 11-100. Smith Najimba, everybody thinks he's great. He's okay. 8 for 96. And that's it. So he can join the Dak Prescott club. Darnold with his 2 picks. All right, let's go through it. Philly is 6.5 and 44.5 to Washington. Philly in a must win to clinch the division. They might as well clinch it now. They had a good game last week, but they played the Raiders. So it's like playing a high school team in college. So Philly, an under team with a 16 defense. They don't score much. Their defense is good. And Washington, a Z team with a 28 defense. Washington's defense is terrible. This is a last 5 numbers that I got in here. So Washington doesn't score, 28 defense. Mariota, Philly, I can't imagine Philly losing this game. Green Bay, Chicago. Chicago's now a 1.5-point favorite and 46.5. Now, I've already played this twice with the Bears as the dog. So you got to understand that with me when you buy my picks, I'm putting them out on Wednesday or when I see the play and I like the play, I'm putting it out there and I make sure I tell you in class, get it before it switches. I've told you that. So now it's the Bears favored, probably because of Micah Parsons. But I still go with them, right? They're still fine. They're getting 4.5. You're fine. They're going to win the game. And you're going to be getting more than 4. So get that bet in. Don't wait till Sunday. We saw the weather. It's not too bad there. It's in the 20s, which is fine. It was 0 last week, and they killed Cleveland. So the Bears, a B team with a 21 defense. Chicago, a B team with an 18 defense. Now, Green Bay's not a 21 defense without Micah Parsons. But the Bears playing an 18 defense. Love against Caleb. Teaser trends. Play against Green Bay as a road favorite, 11-2. The Bears 6-0 at home this year. 5-1 as a home dog. 12-2 in a teaser this year. So it's all Bears here. Go to Bears. Maybe Mike Ditka will play tomorrow, or maybe he'll coach. Tampa Bay, Carolina. Tampa Bay 345.5. Number hasn't moved. Tampa Bay is a W team with a 30 defense. However, they got Mike Evans back last week, so look for them to score. They scored 28 last week. So when you average everything, the last 5 without 4 of them without Evans, the other not scoring. But now with Evans back, they're going to score more. So they're probably more of an E team than a W. However, they still let up 30 points, and that's with or without Mike Evans. Carolina, an under team with a 22 defense. Baker against Young. The only teaser trend I could find is Tampa 7-0 as a road favorite. This is a do or die game, must win. I don't know. Carolina beat the fucking Rams. I mean, now I know the Rams didn't care, and I know Tampa's much better than Carolina, but Carolina is still 7-7, and Tampa's really only 7-7. It's not like Tampa's this 12-4 team here and just coasting. They're not a good team this year. They're 7-7, so it's a tough call here. Total 45.5. You got a 30 defense and a 22 defense. With Mike Evans back, I think this should be probably an over score, 39.5. Definitely this gets in the 40s. They're not going to stop Mike Evans and Baker. So Baker plays better in these games that they need to win. That's also not in your analytics formulas. It's a must-win for Tampa. They lose this game, they're fucked. They'll be 7-8. Carolina. Do you really think Tampa's going to lose to Carolina here with the division on the line, and that's the extra. Can Steve Young win a big game? No fucking way. All right. Minnesota and the Giants, mini 343.5. I don't like this game as Minnesota is a road favorite. Minnesota is an under team with a 19 defense. And J.J. McCarthy, a college quarterback trying to play in the pros, and he sucks. The Giants, a W team with a 30 their defense fell apart. And Dart play against the Giants 26-5 the last 2 years, 12-2 this year. And it's hard because they keep switching quarterbacks. It's Dart against JJ. So I don't even know what to say. Minnesota with a good defense and no offense against the Giants with a very weak offense and a very weak defense. So when you figure that out, let me know. But I can't even play the total in the game. And the Giants probably want to lose because they're 2-12, and they probably want the number 1 pick. They got to fight Oakland for it. The JETSs go to New Orleans. New Orleans 6-40.5. Wow, let's jump from 4-6 because Brady Cook again from Missouri, I believe. Decent quarterback at Missouri, and he's now at the Jets, and they benched Fields, and they benched the other guy, Tyrod Taylor, and now it leaves with Brady Cook. Let's see what we have with Brady Cook for next year. I hate that. If you can't see him in practice that he's good or bad, then you throw him out in a game, it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. New Orleans, an under team with an 18, going with Tyler Shaw, who sucks. So you got 2 bad quarterbacks. Play against New Orleans this year, 11-2. Play against the Jets as a road dog, 7-1, and play against the Jets, 12-2. So there's a problem in my formula with New Orleans. I'm missing 1 game. I got to figure that out. But it's in the scheme of things, it doesn't matter. We're not looking to bet them. They're laying 6 because of Cook, but can you trust Tyler Shaw? New Orleans is the better team here, the 18 defense, and the Jets with the 32 defense. So that's how I look at the games. But I am not betting on Tyler Shaw to win, and Cook, I have no idea. Not enough information. Cincinnati at Miami. Cincinnati is 47.5. Normally, I'd run from this game now that Cincinnati's out, but I just love Cincinnati in this game. They're kind of an over team. They get 28 defense with Joe Burrow, who is got to be pissed off. He played like it was fixed last week. That interception at the goal line, there was no Cincinnati player within 10 yards. And it was just a soft pass. He just floated it right to the Baltimore guy. So okay, that game was fixed. He didn't do anything. Oh, it was too cold, whatever the bullshit. Well, it ain't going to be cold here. It's going to be 80 degrees. Cincinnati's out of it. Miami's out of it. Cincinnati, a 28 defense. Miami, a B team with a 16. But we're going with Quentin Ewers, who sucked at Texas. We didn't like him there, but the Arch Manning, that's how bad he is, couldn't beat out Ewers. Play against Cincinnati this year, 12-2, but Cincinnati is 7-0 as a road favorite. So they don't mind being on the road as favored. They beat the little teams. They have problems at home and with Baltimore and Pittsburgh, Buffalo, but they don't really have a problem as a road favorite. And that's why I break it into categories. So we know where they're good and where they're bad. Miami, nothing. They're usually a good home favorite, not what you got. But it's Burrow off of the worst game he's ever played, going to be pissed. Chase and Higgins, I believe, are playing. I'm not sure about Higgins, but I think he was practicing. Going against Quentin Ewers. We've seen Quentin Ewers at Texas. There's nothing Quentin Ewers is going to do, even against Cincinnati. I just think Burrow will be pissed and just throw for 4 touchdowns. And we're only laying 4 points. So, yeah, go Cincinnati. Not a normal bet for me because it's really nothing to do with the playoffs. it's hard to bet these teams that, are out. But in this case, no, I think they'll hand the ball to Acme most of the game, try to keep it away from Burrow and keep it away from Cook, but or Ewers, but we'll see. Kansas City, Tennessee. What do we do with Kansas City? They're 3-37.5. KC's an under team with a 22 defense, and Minshaw, who's not bad, and Tennessee is Z team with the 27 and Cam Ward. I'll tell you, Minshew's better than Cam Ward. Play against Tennessee is a home dog, 9-1. Play against them 27-4, and play against them this year 12-2. So the last 2 years, 27-4. So Tennessee's a team that's terrible. You play against KC with Minshew. They still got Spagnuolo. They still got the good defense. They still have they still have everybody. Minshew won't be too bad. Again, but this is harder. I don't mind Burrow against yours, and you got Minshew, who's pretty good against Cam Ward, who sucks. So hard to, but I don't. There's too many road favorites this week. It's a bad week because you want to play KC, but they're a road favorite to Tennessee. They finally get the easy game in Tennessee, and Mahomes is hurt. So I don't know. I think KC wins it. They're only laying 3, which I think they should be 7 or so. Anyway, I have KC -6. So they're only laying 3. I think that's a bargain. I think KC +3 should win the game. San Diego, Dallas. Dallas 2.5, 49.5. Herbert against Dak. I have no teaser trends. Normally, San Diego's a great road dog, but they haven't been a road dog in the last few years to bet on them. There's no trends. San Diego, an under team with an 18, and Dallas, an over team with a 29. Dak against Herbert. Both teams need the game. Although Dallas, if Philadelphia wins, which they should, beat Washington, Dallas gets then they're eliminated. They're eliminated with one Philadelphia win. San Diego, on the other hand, is trying to catch Denver, which they both play. Actually, this is a 1:00 game, so you won't know what Denver's doing till later on. They're on at 4. Buffalo at Cleveland. Buffalo 10-42. Allen against Prime Jr. It'll be a little windy there, not too bad cold-wise for these two teams. Buffalo an over team with the 25 defense. Cleveland a W with the 24. Again, the total 10-42. Atlanta, Arizona. Atlanta 3-48. Cousins against Brissett. Atlanta W team with a 27. Arizona's terrible. A Z team with the 34. Play against Arizona this year, 13-1 and 5-0 as a home dog. So Arizona stinks at home, stinks as a home dog, stinks every game. They've only had one game where you didn't bet against them and win. In Atlanta with Kirk Cousins, I don't mind. He's a terrible quarterback, but in this situation, he'll do fine. There's no pressure, so he won't choke. And again, Arizona with the 34 defense. But again, it's hard. Do we want to bet Atlanta as a road favorite? It's hard to do that. Game of the day, Jacksonville, Denver. Denver 3.5, 47, 347. Jacksonville's an A team with the 15 defense. Denver's an under with the 19. Lawrence against Knicks. Denver 11-0 as a home favorite the last 2 years. 30-2 in a teaser. 14-0 this year. Enough said. Now, is Jacksonville really an 18 with a 15 defense? They are the last 5, but when I went through their games, they got killed by Seattle. They got killed by the Rams. And I was checking for the Houston game, and they lost to Houston. So I don't buy this as an under game. Denver's just Denver. I mean, I don't. Jacksonville's going to want to run it down their throats. I don't think they can on Denver. Denver a very strong defense, but I don't buy as Jacksonville's 15 defense. I'm not buying it. I don't smell what they're cooking, and I like Bo Nix. He put up, what, 30 some points on Green Bay last week. Okay, granted, Micah Parsons went out late in the third quarter or fourth quarter, but they still put up points on Green Bay. They put up points on Houston. Denver scores against the tougher team. They went to Philly and won. Denver just has a knack of hanging around and winning in the fourth quarter. Jacksonville doesn't. Jacksonville beat KC, was their best win, but they, like I said, they lost to Seattle, they lost to Houston, and they lost to the Niners, and I think they lost to the Rams. They lost to the Rams, and I think they lost to the Niners. So against the better teams, Jacksonville isn't showing up. Against the Tennessees and the Indies and some of these teams, they are playing better defense, but not Denver. I don't see them going into Denver and winning the game. And you got Denver -3, and they're 30-2 in a teaser. Oakland goes to Houston. Houston 14-38. Pickett against Stroud. Oakland, a Z team, obviously, with the 2090. So their defense is getting worse and worse. Houston, an 18 with the 16. They're getting better and better. Houston 10-1 is a home favorite. 30-3 the last 2 years. 14-0 this year. Play against Oakland is 6-1 as a road dog, and play against them this year is 12-2. So it's play against Oakland, take Houston. Houston has to win the game because of their game behind Jacksonville, which should probably lose to Denver. And then they're going for the division, and they're still in the wild card. There's them, there's San Diego, and there's Buffalo right now, which all that. So let's say New England wins, Buffalo gets that wild card, Denver wins, San Diego gets that wild card. That leaves the last wild card for Houston, Jacksonville, and Indy. So we'll see. So Houston must win, and they're playing Oakland, and they're at home, and they're 30-3 in a teaser. Okay, yeah, I mean, this would be a lock if it was a normal spread. 14, you got to be a little careful with that. Pitt goes to Detroit. Detroit must win for both teams. Now, a little more must win for Detroit. Detroit loses, they're out. Pittsburgh loses, they're still they'll be tied for Baltimore if Baltimore beats New England, which is not a guarantee. And so Pitt doesn't have the same pressure, except they do need to keep winning to win the division. I don't think they can get a wild card. As I mentioned, the 3 wild cards. So Pitt mathematically can go 11-6, but then they'd win the division. Detroit 7-52. Rodgers against Golf. Pitt, I don't know if they're an under team. They're starting to score more. They'll get you 20s. They give up 21. Detroit over team with the 29 defense. Detroit will light them up. Pitt will light them up because of Aaron Rodgers. So this should be a light them up game in my mind. Total of 52. Detroit -1, maybe. Pitt and 13, maybe. They all make sense. Where Pitt doesn't need the game. Detroit's do or die at home. Okay. But they have no defense. They have no pressure. They have no secondary. And you got Aaron Rodgers, who hates the Lions. So he could win it with DK Metcalf and the running, and although you got no TJ Watt. So you got to be very careful just assuming Detroit wins, because it's hard to bet a team to win with a 29 defense. That's the problem. So maybe you go total, maybe you go Detroit, maybe you like Pitt and 13. Maybe. I have played this game. New England and Baltimore. Baltimore 3, 48.5. New England an A team with a 21 defense and Drake May. Baltimore an under team with the 27 defense, I think. Or 23, maybe it's a 20. It's either 23 or 27. I think it's a 23. I don't know. It was 23, and then I think I wrote a 7 over it. May against Lamar, or maybe it was a 27, and then I wrote 23. But either way, it's a bad defense. New England probably the better team here as a dog. New England 13-1 in a teaser this year. 6-0 as a road dog. So that's what we got there. New England, if Buffalo wins and they play earlier, New England, yeah, because this is the night game, Sunday night. New England probably has to win regardless. But if Buffalo wins, and I can't imagine them losing to Cleveland, then I don't know about the 10, but they're not going to lose to Prime Junior. And then there's Baltimore, who just isn't very good, who has to win. And this 1-800 Hansons keeps calling me. It's obviously a scam. They call me with all these different numbers, not 1-800 Hansons. And so I keep blocking them. So New England, they're pretty much in the playoffs. It's a little different because they don't really. There's two thoughts on New England. They've kind of want to win the division and beat Buffalo, and they also want to beat Baltimore because they lost to Buffalo to show they're legit, because they haven't beaten any. They beat Buffalo on a fluke in Buffalo, and that's it. And they haven't played anybody good and beaten them. So they're not really that. They lost to Pittsburgh. Got killed. They're not great, but this is a game they need to win. We'll see. Baltimore is not that good, so it really will be false even if New England wins, because you're beating a 7-7 Baltimore team with possibly the worst quarterback in the league in Lamar. I don't even know about total. New England a 21 defense, Baltimore 23. Probably goes over. New England scores a lot. Baltimore with Lamar, they've got him out of position. It's just incredibly stupid. And then we got San Francisco, Indy, Frisco 646.5. We've got Purdy against Rivers. Frisco 5-0 as a road favorite. Frisco A team with a 20 defense, and Indy an under team with a 25, going with Phillip Rivers and against Purdy. So it's a toughie. The Niners obviously need the game to try to catch Seattle now. That's the other reason I don't know why Seattle went for 2, because if they tie it up, then they're tied for the 1 seed. Maybe they did it and thought, well, the Rams won the other game, and if we tie, the Rams would be the 1 seed. Maybe that's what they're thinking. But I thought it was a really stupid move to go for the 2, because if they miss it, which they normally would have, then, I mean, they got 3 2-point conversions yesterday. The Rams have to fix that mess, but actually they got 2. The third one was the bullshit lateral. So that's what you got. So you got your free play, still the Bears. I'm not going to change it, but I'm warning, bet it now instead of laying 3 with the Bears. Again, Micah Parsons is out. There's no reason to wait. So I played it with the Rams and 8 yesterday, and I got the Rams and 8 with somebody else. I got one lock in here, and I'm not telling you that. You got to buy that. I got a lock there, and I think who is my lock? There's so many good games. Okay. So my lock's with 2 teams who must win, of course. I don't really have weather problems. And I haven't posted all my picks, but I got a good deal of them posted. I have played 2 of the playoff games, and I'm going to post the other 2. All right. So that's on Teaserking. So the UK's in big trouble. I tried to watch this Austrian economics, the ultimate survival toolkit. I don't look at Austrian economics as a survival toolkit. I look at it as the way to have a strong economy. He had some guy from Von Mises on, and again, Mark McGuire wasn't on today. Let's see if he came on. I don't understand why Mark's not on. I want to make it
important, but it's different than.
Here's a comment. It's amazing. These two experts, as he's quoting, spoke for 34 minutes and never for a second touched on any of the real issues. The masses in the U.S. are in pain and have been for generations. They have become homeless, drug addicts, rapists, and murderers, alcoholics, mentally unhinged, and gunmen during this time. A showman, a con man, and a very incompetent man came along and told them a bunch of lies. These broken people thought, here comes our savior. They were duped. Okay, whatever. The problem is domestic, and they need to be tackled. Whatever. But don't waste your time with this Austrian economics. It's not what I tell you, and I said in the beginning was Austrian economics. Let's see. So nothing new I added. Britain's imploding. The spheres losing 2.3 billion is going broke, and everybody in the UK, 712,000 have left. Russian war it's over, but Zelensky won't resign. He won't surrender. He'd rather kill his own people than surrender because he's a fucking loser. The CFTC meeting, they're banning silver buying. He said it was yesterday, and I looked. Was there a CFTC meeting? And I said no. So again, a little AI idiot. So be careful who you listen to. Oh, Michael Oliver called $60 silver. I call $1,000 silver. Big fucking deal. I don't do it to say I called it. I do because that's where it's going. Anyway, not much else. And we'll leave you with Egon. The can is too big to kick down the road.
This painting by a Swedish friend of mine illustrates the American expression, kicking the can down the road. Now, for years and years, central banks, and especially the two biggest ones in the West, which is the Fed, of course, and the ECB, they have been kicking the can of debt down the road for many, many years until we've got to the point where we are today when the can is much too big. This can of what we call a soup of debt, soup that is so heavy now that it will not be possible to solve this in an orderly way. You get to a point when money printing becomes worthless and the money becomes worthless. And this is what we're seeing now with gold reflecting that perfectly. Since 1971, all the currencies are down 99% or more against gold. And we're now moving to the period when the final 1% is also going to disappear as gold. So gold will go up by multiples and paper money will go down to zero and be worthless, as it has been time and time again in history. There's nothing new. It's just the magnitude of the debt is so much greater, and we have to include derivatives in this. And I think, we're talking about debts of 350 trillion or more globally. We're talking about derivatives of maybe 2 quadrillion if you include all shadow banking and outside the banking system. So you're talking about an amount of debt and a can which is much too big to kick further down the road. So this is why we're going to have a problem in the world now. Central banks will not have the power to save this like they did in 2008. 2008 was a good time at least to let the system fail. Now it's many-fold worse than it was at that point, and therefore the solution cannot come in an orderly way. It will be a disorderly reset of the system with parts of the banking system not surviving in its present form, paper assets crashing, including obviously stocks, bonds, derivatives, etc. So we're in for a very, very difficult period in the world. Obviously, physical gold reflects what's happening to money, always has, because physical gold is constant purchasing power. And this is what we're going to see this time again, with gold in paper money terms going up by massive percentages. But in real terms, it will at least maintain purchasing power. But I think because of the very big demand we're going to see for gold, and of course that demand cannot be satisfied by making more gold or refining more gold, because there isn't more gold than around 3,000 tons every year to be had from the mines. And therefore, the only way that the increase in demand of gold can be satisfied is by a higher price, not by more quantities of gold. There'll be tremendous pressure on the gold price upwards. And I think the gold price will move, because of this demand we're going to get now in the next few years, is going to move much faster than just by purchasing power. I think there'll be a permanent revaluation that will make people think totally differently about gold. And I think in the future, there won't be just 0.5% of world financial assets in gold. Everybody will consider that you have to have at least 10 or 20% of your assets in gold for wealth preservation purpose. That's what we're going to see.
So basically what you have is demand for gold and silver going up, which makes the price go up because of demand for an asset. If it's limited in supply, which it is, you will see higher prices. So that's what we have going. And as long as the demand's there, the gold's going to go up. The demand's not going anywhere because more people want it and need it. The industrials need the silver. Everybody needs gold to back their currency because their currency is worthless. So it's just going to be gold going, silver going. Let's take a look where we're at with our gold and silver. Well, first, if silver hits 10,000, this is what breaks first. $10,000, I don't understand, or we'll waste our time with it. Silver breaks the system. COMEX has lost control. I got to watch this one. DEI degrades everything in sight, failed black quarterbacks, and ruined the NFL. So I think what he's saying is like you'll see more black coaches, more black quarterbacks, only because they're black, not because they're good coaches and quarterbacks. Not that there's not good black coaches and quarterbacks. Mahomes is the best quarterback, but When you see Caleb and Tagliabue and these other guys and Lamar, these guys are bad quarterbacks. Maybe only because they're black. I don't know. And these coaches, look at the Lions defensive coordinators, black, and he's terrible. They're giving up 30 a game. Did he get the job? He had no experience. So then you run into, that's what he's saying. Are these getting the job because of their color, or are they getting the job because of things? So I'll have to watch this. But that's the problem when you do quotas and, well, we have to have more blacks coaching and more blacks quarterbacking, but they got to be good. They got to be, they have to be good coaches and quarterbacks. That's the point. I can't watch this guy. I don't trust him. I don't know who he is. He doesn't even talk. It's AI, and I mean, he's on like 20 different channels. So I think he's just the look of AI, and they're doing all these AI videos. Be careful with that. Germany leaves NATO and the EU. Zelensky flees. Well, I got to watch that one. That should be a good one. So I will watch
Guys,
that.
I don't know what kind of magic this is, but these glasses are going to adapt to your vision. For near.
Von der Leyen is now.
All right, I'm going to watch that one. Anyway, let's take our look what's going on with our gold and our silver. Silver now 67.12. Rolling. And gold finally is breaking that 43.30, 43.40 barrier at 43.55. So we're hoping, I think by the end of the year, which is, I'll call December 31st, 4,500 gold without a problem, on its way to 5,000, probably in January. 67.29. This will be, I think, 75 by the end of the year. Could be 100 by the end of the year. Because this is running, again, it's up $2, but you can see it just keeps running, because people need it for their phones and their computers, and they need silver and AI and cell phones. So all the manufacturers are buying it, but the 67 price isn't even close to reality. The bigger players are going to the mines and buying the doré, which is then produced into coins and bars, and in this case, into whatever they need to make solar panels and that. So they're going right to the mine. They're paying $100, $125 an ounce for it. So the 67 is this paper Comex bullshit, but we don't buy that. Anyway, 43.54, 67.21. Another happy day on gold and silver. Again, gold's not, you got to look at it two ways. For our purposes, it's not going down to 4,000 or 3,900. It's sitting in the 43s. And every time we see it sitting for a while, it then jumps to 40. It makes its run to 45, 4,600. So the fact we don't see it dropping means the tidal wave's coming to push it up. And it's an expensive thing, $4,000 an ounce, that you buy it and then you got to wait to get more money to buy more. That was always what I would do. Silver has always been cheap. Now it's 67. I mean, if I go to the store now, 10 ounces is going to cost me almost $700 because there's going to be a $3 premium. So you got to be careful with that. But it's going to be $100 an ounce. So do all your buying, and then you can still buy now. It's going to 1,000, so it's fine. But the more you can get at these cheaper prices, the better you are. But this is just, we're going to the moon. And I'll leave you with that. So we've looked at the weather. We'll look at, we looked at the NFL. We looked at the college playoff, the college game today. There's one other game, the Memphis NC State game, and then you got the Alabama Oklahoma game. So we gave you those two. And we'll go from there. And that's about it. So we've covered the bowls, and then we've covered the pros, the who needs the games. I'll cover that one more time right now. Who needs it? Philadelphia, Green Bay, and Chicago, Tampa Bay, and Carolina. Both games are kind of playoff games. San Diego, Dallas, both teams need. Buffalo, must win. Jacksonville, Denver, pretty much Denver's playing to clinch. Jacksonville has the lead in the thing, so it's not as critical to those two as, let's say, the Tampa Bay Carolina game is pretty critical. Houston needs the game to try to win the division and get the wild card. Pitt, Detroit. Detroit's do or die. Pitt needs it to stay ahead of Baltimore, so it's a little different than being eliminated. New England, Baltimore. New England's trying to keep the 1 seed, and after, the 2 seed, and then let's see what Buffalo does, because this is the night game. Baltimore needs it to try to catch Pitt, because their only hope is to win the division. And then San Francisco, Indy, Frisco needs it to lock up a wild card and to keep chasing now Seattle. And Indy is trying to stay in there with Jacksonville and Houston just to win the division and possibly a wild card. Although I think they're out of the wild card just because you got Buffalo, New England, and you got San Diego and Denver. They're not going to lose. So you've got to then win your division. And, Phillip Rivers, did he look good last week? Okay, who are they playing again? Indy was playing. They're playing somebody. They're playing Seattle. A good defense at Seattle. So that was a good win. That was a good game for Phillip Rivers at Seattle. Then we saw what a real quarterback does as they lit him up. Stafford lit him up pretty good. Stafford's looking really good. I think a lot of those games with him, I play over. I lock the over with Detroit, with the Rams. I just think that, it's almost 2 leagues. There's the good teams, and you kind of bet them over pretty much because they probably more than likely can score. Like Stafford, even if they played Houston, would put up a big number. But then you got the shit teams, the New Orleans, the Jets, the Giants, Washington, Oakland, who just suck. And it skews all the trends because they look good against those teams, but not so good against the better ones, as you saw with Seattle yesterday. They played Indy okay with Phillip Rivers, but then yesterday Stafford lit them up. So it all comes back to who's playing. You're not stopping Stafford, and you're not stopping probably Mahomes. You weren't, or Joe Burrow, or on a different level. Anyway, that's what we got. So roll silver, roll gold. We got 1 week to Christmas. Is next Thursday already. Hard to believe. And that's it. Again, I got my specials, $200 for the rest of the year through the Super Bowl, and $100 if you want all the bowls, all the playoffs. Probably better to get the 200 because you get all the college bowls and playoffs and the pros and the playoffs through the Super Bowl. So you get both playoffs for the 200, where it's going to cost you $100 a week. Here you get 5 or 6 weeks of it. So your call, and that's it. www.teaserking.com. Have a good week. Again, if you're just listening to get my picks, you don't know what I'm locking. You don't even know what I'm picking, because I'm telling you this is who I like or don't, doesn't mean it's a pick. So just be careful with trying to be too clever. So anyway, you don't know my locks. You don't know my strong picks, even though I'm telling you, I'm giving you the free pick Alabama. Is that a lock? Is that a free pick? It's a pick. How strong is it? So all that kind of stuff. Same thing with the Bears. The Bears are the play, but now they're 1.5. Do I still play the Bears? Well, I gave it to you as the dog early in the week. Anyway, that's about it. So enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend. Again, Alabama, Oklahoma tonight. And then tomorrow we got the 3 playoff games. And I believe we got the 2 pro games. I think Green Bay, Chicago, and Philadelphia, Washington are also tomorrow. So a lot of decent football on Saturday. Sunday, we got the rest of the pros. And then Monday night is San Francisco, Indy, Phillip Rivers already. So we'll see. Anyway, take care. Be good. Be healthy. You're going to eat your sweets. Eat it. Keep it for like Christmas Eve and Christmas. And then be careful. You don't want to eat like chocolate cream pie, which is what I think I'm going to get, like Christmas Eve, Christmas, the day after, the next day, 5 days later. Just be careful on that. So anyway, good luck. Keep our gold and silver. Should just keep running and running. There's really nothing to stop it. Nobody in their right mind would short it because everybody's going to buy it and they're going to take the price up. So I don't see that happening. Anyway, so have a good weekend, everybody. Again, if you need me, get my email on teaserking.com and the homepage. And otherwise, if you bought the picks and you want advice or I want to play a 10-team teaser, yeah, I can help you with that because you bought the picks. All right. All right. Well, have a good day, everybody. www.teaserking.com. All right. Take care.